have known exactly what we had done or what we were doing at that time. It started small, and agencies responsible for its regulation didn't pay attention. When we would sit down in our homes laughing, looking at the screens, and we would be saying, Nine sacrifice. The Nine sacrifice has metamorphosed into what we find today as Yahoo and Yahoo Plus, where even a man will build a hotel and put 30 graves. What are those graves for? We do not know. Where the killings and dismemberment of humans have become very common sights all over the country. Mr. Speaker, I will allow my colleagues to also bring their perspective to this. More importantly, I want to urge all of us to see this as very serious, and we should do the best that we can to put a stop to it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ebimopowe Tajuddin Abbas, PhD. My very distinguished colleagues, I am Hawaji Nombek Dagomie Abiante. I represent the people of Andoni, Opobo, Nkoro Federal Constituency. I am an Ijoman and I'm from Rivers State. I rise to take this motion, the national call to halt homicidal and femicidal acts in Nigeria. And I'm supported on this duty by 3 of my colleagues. Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, the House notes that the right to life is a fundamental human right guaranteed by the Constitution, while homicide, including murder, manslaughter, and other violent crimes leading to the termination of life have been on the rise across the country, provoking demand for justice. The House also notes that femicide, which is the intentional killing of women and girls due to the agenda, has become a significant concern with several reported cases in recent years. The House is disturbed by the following tragic cases among several others. That in February 2020, one patient at Dibe was killed by her boyfriend in Benin after a brief argument. In May 2020, Vera Uwaila Umozua, a 100-level microbiology student of the University of Benin, was raped and murdered in a church. Collins Ujegbulem, one of the suspects, claimed that a woman paid them to kill her for rituals. In June 2020, Barakat Bello, an 18-year-old student in Ibadan, was raped and stabbed to death. September 2020, 11-year-old Favor Okechukwu was gang raped and killed by 4 men in Lagos. April 2021, in Yobong Umorem, a fresh graduate was raped and murdered by a man posing as a job interviewer in Uyo. December 2021, Hanifa Abubakar, a 5-year-old child, was kidnapped, poisoned, and murdered by her school proprietor in Kano. February 2022, the fashion designer Bamise Ayanwole was murdered after boarding a PRT bus in Lagos. April 2022, Ifeanyi Njoku killed his girlfriend for money rituals. July 2022, Eunice Chioma Igwike abducted, killed, and butchered by human parts dealers. September 2022, a Chinese national, Mr. Frank, murdered his Nigerian girlfriend, Umul Kasam Buhari. July 2023, Benjamin Best murdered his girlfriend, Augusta Osedion, a 300-level student at the University of Port Harcourt. In August 2023, Ogenefe Jiro Reha was killed by her boyfriend for ritual purposes. October 2023, Okoligwe Demion Chinemerem killed Justina Otuene Nkang, a fellow student at the University of Port Harcourt. May 2024, Elisha was arrested for killing his lover, Edima, in a ritual murder. In June 2024, Glory Adekolure was raped and killed in Benin. August 2024, Fatai Mogaji stabbed his girlfriend to death, while Mojisola Awesu was murdered in a hotel. September 2024, Jeremiah Samson killed Abigail Damilola, a university student, and buried her body. January 2025, the recent killing of Salome Adaidu, a National Youth Corps member in Nasarawa State, is a continuation of the trend. And alarmed by the killing of Chioma Nwanna, who was set ablaze by her husband in Anambra after a heated argument. The list is endless. Distraught by the delays in the prosecution of homicide cases, which have caused prolonged pre-trial detentions, which is overcrowding the correctional facilities, and loss of crucial evidence, eroding public faith in the judicial system. Concerned that the slow and ineffective justice system allows perpetrators to gain media attention, some have become beauty pageant winners, while trials for serious crimes like homicide are prolonged. For example, in the case of Chidinma Ojukwu, under trial for the murder of Osifo Ataga, continues to gain publicity. And the notorious kidnapper, Evans, facing trial for murder, has even been awarded scholarship to continue his studies. Aware that the National Judicial Council is responsible for overseeing the judiciary and improving the efficiency of the judicial process. Convinced that establishing special divisions within existing courts with exclusive jurisdiction over homicide and related cases will expedite justice, reduce backlogs, and restore public confidence in the legal system. Also convinced that ethical enlightenment through public awareness campaigns focusing on instilling ethical values and respect for human life and the integration of emotional intelligence programs to help young people develop non-violent problem-solving skills could help curb this menace. I am urging and inviting my colleagues to resolve to urge the National Judicial Council to facilitate the designation of special divisions within existing courts at all levels to expeditiously handle homicide, femicide, and related cases. Also urge relevant law enforcement agencies to, as a matter of fact and urgency, prioritize homicide investigations and ensure thorough prosecution of offenders. Further urge religious organizations, the National Orientation Agency, and other advocacy groups to initiate public awareness campaigns focusing on instilling ethical values and respect for human life, and to promote programs that educate young people on the dangers of ritual killings, murder, and manslaughter. Mandate the committees on judiciary and human rights to liaise with the National Judicial Council and other relevant stakeholders to monitor the implementation of this resolution and report progress at intervals of 3 weeks. I so move.
Respected colleagues, my name is Ahmed Idris, representing Wase, Federal Constituency, Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, I like to second the motion as ably moved by my brother, Honorable Abenti. As a second.
Mr. Speaker, in most cases when things like this happen, people who perpetrate this evil feast on the innocence of their victim. And the victims may be thinking that they are well-meaning individuals or persons fall easily into their trap. And one of the things that nations of the world have done to curb cases like this is to ensure that right from primary education level, there are security awareness education, which lets persons grow up knowing when there are red flags in communication, red flags in relationship, red flags in invitation, so that they can identify these pitfalls and avoid falling into them in the course of life. The second issue, Mr. Speaker, has to do with the need for us to enforce our rules, laws, and regulations, especially with regards to the hospitality industry. Mr. Speaker, this is about the only country I know in the world where you can lodge into a hotel without proper identification. It doesn't happen in any other place. You go into a hotel, you are profiled, your international passport or photo ID is taken and captured. In Nigeria today, you go to most of the hotels, they just allow guests in, and they use these places to perpetrate most of these killings in a manner that leaves little or no trail, onto the perpetrators of the act. So I think these two very important matters, deepening security, education, and awareness, as well as enforcing rules and regulations, especially the hospitality industry, to ensure that persons that come into hotels and places like that are profiled documented, and traceable will help us a great deal to be able to prevent most of these cases from happening. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. We take amendments.
My name is Abdul Hakim Kamilo Ado, representing Udelgarko Federal Constituency from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, as a rider to what Honorable Shagaya, alongside Right Honorable Gagdi mentioned, Mr. Speaker, I will stick to the 1 minute given to us. I think religious organizations and the National Orientation Agency, advocating them for public awareness is not enough. I could remember when Kano was on hot fire, Mr. Speaker, when the young Hanifa was murdered, followed by Kulsum, who was murdered by a foreigner. And those murderers are there in our custodial center, enjoying the government money, enjoying the food of the government. As mentioned by Right Honorable Abiante, one of them from South was given a scholarship to further his studies after murdering a lady. Mr. Speaker, I think what we should put more concern about is the implementation. Maybe revisiting the previous cases and ensure implementation so that such cases could not happen again in this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Bamidele Salah.
Sabama Kremon Federal Constituency. I'm from Bayelsa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I wish and rise to amend prayer 4 of this motion, simply because this motion is very crucial, very, very important, and it touches on the fabrics of human existence in our country, Nigeria. And so having read through prayer 4 and seeing the committees and the time frame which may be determined by Mr. Speaker or otherwise, I wish to move that because of the importance of this issue, because of the critical nature of this issue, while the other committees may within the time frame submit a report to this House, after which they cannot go back to that same action, I want to move that the Committee on Compliance, which can monitor this issue through the life of this Assembly, be added to prayer 4. I so move, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues.
Please be more specific. You said, what time are you talking about?
I said the Committee on Compliance can monitor this matter in terms of compliance through the life of the 10th Assembly. And
but
so
what
for
I understand with Committee on Compliance is that a resolution has to be passed. If there is a failure from the relevant MDA, that's when Committee of Compliance comes into play.
Yes,
you don't involve them from day one at the point of passing the resolution. Compliance is supposed to be after a directive or a resolution is passed.
Yes.
If the committee could not be able to get the MDA to do the needful, then compliance is now referred to continue engaging. So
Mr. Speaker,
based on our rules, they are not supposed to work in tandem with the committees that are supposed to do the investigation. The investigation has to be made, resolution passed. If it is not respected, that's one committee on legislative compliance is supposed to actually start its own work. You know, I was a deputy chairman of that committee in the 7th Assembly.
Yes, sir. Mr. Speaker, what I'm trying to insinuate is this. This matter is not completely an investigative motion. It is an emotion where facts and figures have been presented that has taken place in this country, and that the appropriate committees are so recommended by the movers of this motion is to the extent that you work with the MDAs to ensure that appropriate actions are taken within the time frame, Mr. Speaker. And within the time frame, Mr. Speaker, the committees so prescribed will be required to submit their report to this House. When the report is submitted, Mr. Speaker, this House will not be referring it back to compliance as it were. But if the Committee on Compliance is added to these committees that are working, even when the main committee so prescribed submits report, the committee on compliance by dint of the responsibilities given to them can continue to ensure that there is compliance in this all-important and critical issue that touches on the fabrics of Nigerians that have lost, the innocent lives that have been lost because of some desperation of certain Nigerians who want to acquire whatever they want to acquire by whatever means. Mr. Speaker, we are trying to deal with a matter that is becoming a cankerworm in this country, and all that whatever that we need to do to ensure that we reduce this carnage that is rising, it is important that we use all available legislative time to deal with it. That is why I'm recommending and moving that the Committee on Compliance, which is going to, even after the reports have been submitted, which can do its work all through the tenure of the 10th Assembly, be added as my motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, let's hear the opinion of...
themselves in talking about one another, criticizing one another, one sect or another. So I want to call on them again. What is happening in our society? They need to put heads together to ensure that they have preached morality, that they have preached in such a way that the generation and the generation unborn will learn the etiquette of morality instead of behaving the way the society is behaving. Finally, thank you for giving me the opportunity, and thank you, Honorable Abente, for coming to the aid of Nigerians to move this motion.
Honorable Shagaya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.